Hello everybody, and welcome back to Certified Collectibles. This is another episode of First Appearance of the Week. This is Wednesday, September 18th, 2024. We'll be giving you all the first appearance in your comic shops today. And this week we got a pretty good lineup for you guys. I think we have 3 first appearances, 4 honorable mentions, so 7 titles on to go through. There's definitely some books in there to pick up for your collection. So let's go ahead and get started for the first appearance of the week, beginning September 20th, 2024. First up from Marvel Comics, Deathlock 50th Anniversary Special Number 1. This features the first appearance of a female character with similar android enhancements to Deathlock. Now this may possibly be an existing character, Deathlock, with an updated design. Now we typically recommend picking up the first appearance of new characters in Marvel titles. Marvel Disney is still churning out a ton of media for the small screen and big screen. You really don't know where any of these characters they're introducing in the comics may end up. With all that being said though, Deathlock is definitely not one of Marvel's stronger or more heavily collected characters, and the fact that this may be an existing character already that's just being repurposed for this issue, those are definitely 2 things to keep in mind if you're going to pick this up for your collection. But another thing to keep in mind also, just because this character is not popular now, doesn't mean it won't be in the future. Marvel definitely has a history of picking up a lot of B characters, making them superstars, making collectors really race back and try to find those first appearances. So this one here will definitely be speculative if you choose to pick it up, but like we always say, sometimes the risk is worth the reward on these. For $3 or $4, you could be sitting on a huge winner here. If this goes somewhere, if it goes nowhere, you're out a couple dollars. This one here, in our opinion, is definitely worth the spec. Grab it for a spec if you can. If you can't, put it in your B list and take a look at it later on. Next up from Marvel Comics, Spider Society number 2. This features the first appearance of an alternate reality Madam Web with a surprising identity. Now, like we just mentioned a moment ago, it's typically worth picking up the first appearance of new characters in Marvel titles, especially Spider-Man titles. Spider-Man, one of the most heavily collected and most popular franchises for Marvel Comics, you typically always want to pick up the first appearance of new characters in Spider-Man titles. Now, with all that being said, this here is a alternate reality version of Madam Web. The original Madam Web, not necessarily one of the most popular characters in the Spider-Man universe, and definitely the movie didn't help the popularity of this character. So the fact that this issue features the first appearance of an alternate reality version of a character that's already not all that popular, this one here may be more speculative. Like we just mentioned a moment ago though, sometimes the risk is worth the reward. And for $3 or $4, it may be worth having this here in your collection. It's still the first appearance of a new character in a Spider-Man title. So pick this one here up for spec if you can. If you can't, put it in your B list and take a look at it later on. And finally from Marvel Comics, X-Men number 4. This features the first team appearance of the Upstarts 2, a group of mutants assembled by Trevor Fitzroy. Now, like we mentioned in previous videos, Marvel Disney have the cinematic rights to the X-Men and Fantastic Four franchises, so you can definitely expect a lot of content for the small screen and big screen here in the near future. So definitely keep that in mind when you see the first appearance of new characters or new teams in these X-Men or Fantastic Four titles. So that being said, this here is the first team appearance of the Upstart. This is not necessarily the first appearance of each character within the team. So this here may not be as important as if it was the first appearance of those characters, but this here is still the first team appearance, and like I said before, you really don't know what Marvel Disney has planned for these teams or these characters they're introducing in comics, especially now that Marvel Disney have the cinematic rights to the X-Men again. You can definitely expect a lot of content to hit the screen. If they bring this team onto the screen, collectors will go back to the comic and try to find the first appearance. So this here will be a little bit more speculative because, like I said, it is the first team appearance, not the first appearance of the characters, but probably still worth picking up for the cover price. You don't want to chase these down years later for a lot more money. So go ahead and grab this one here for a spec if you can. If you can't, put in your B list and take a look at it later on. And now for the honorable mentions. From Marvel Comics, Deadpool number 6. This features the debut of L.A. Camacho's Deadpool costume. Now, we always recommend picking up the first appearance of new costumes, new superpowers, or new artifacts in these popular titles. If any of these new costumes hit the screen, whether small screen or big screen, collectors will race back to the comics and try to find their first appearance. So this one here is one we do think you should pick up for your collection, given the popularity of Deadpool. If the new costume design featured in this particular issue is the costume they go with in the future, this is one you definitely want to have in your collection. So for the cover price, this is one we do think you should pick up for your collection. Go ahead and grab this one. Next up from DC Comics, Detective Comics number 27 Facsimile. Now this here is a facsimile reprint of Detective Comics 27, the first appearance of Batman. Now this here is the Golden Age format. If you're not familiar, the Golden Age format is larger than the modern comics. I believe it's 7 3/4 inches by 10.5 inches. So it is a larger format book. And like we mentioned in past videos, these facsimile reprints, these are huge in the secondary market. Collectors love these books. These don't just reprint the story and the art, but all the original ads as well. This is just like going back in time and picking this book off the shelf back in the 40s. So this one here, in our opinion, is a must-have for your collection. The fact that this here is the Golden Age format just makes this book super cool. We do expect this to do very well, and collectors will love this book, so this is one we do think you should pick up for your collection. Go ahead and grab this one. Next up from Boom Comics, The Graveyard Club #1. Gravesend is as sleepy a town as they come, especially being surrounded by cemeteries, and the local kids could think of nowhere else they'd rather wreak harmless havoc. This town is an endless eerie place with no shortages of strange and dangerous happenings. When high schooler Parker West pulls what seems like a harmless prank, he may be putting his friends in more danger than he can imagine. Now this here is the premiere issue of this new coming-of-age horror series. This here has been referred to as Breakfast Club in a Graveyard. We put this one here on the list because this here sounds like it can lend itself easily to a small screen, big screen project, and Boom Comics has had a lot of their titles picked up in option in the past. And like we always say, these books don't actually have to make it to the screen. The fact that they get option alone is enough to drive the price up in the secondary market, and it typically stays elevated. So this is one we do think is a great spec. It will be speculative because you are specking on this getting picked up in option, getting a lot more eyes on this title, getting a lot more collectors interested in this particular series. So in our opinion, this here is a great spec. Pick this up for a spec if you can. If you can't, put it in your B-list and take a look at it later on. And finally from IDW, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Nation #1. Now this here is a premiere issue of this new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles spin-off series. We put this one on the list because Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, any spin-off series, any premiere issue of the spin-off series for this franchise, these are definitely worth picking up. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fan base and collector base today is probably just as large as it was back in the 90s, if not larger. So anytime there's a new series that comes out with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, these are typically books you want to pick up and add to your collection. Now this one here will be a little more speculative because this here is just a premiere issue of this new spin-off series. But like I said, this fan base and collector base is huge, and collectors are pretty die-hard, so they definitely want to have the premiere issues of these new series. So this one here is one we do think you should pick up for a spec if you can. If you can't, put in your B-list and take a look at it later on. So there you have the 7 titles that we have for you guys this week. There's definitely some books in there you guys should pick up for your collection. So please feel free to drop some comments in the comment section below. Thumbs up if you like this video. And as always, please remember to subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Thank you for joining us here at Certified Collectibles, and we'll see you again next time.